My name is Joshua Greer, and I'm from Scottsville, Arkansas. Where are you putting your faith? My youth group goes to a youth conference called Gateway Student Conference. It's an amazing thing and always so much fun. Last year, we put faith in one of our ministers named David. David's job for the week was to book us an hotel. Little did we know we'd put our faith in the wrong person. So we're getting ready to leave, and David tells us he found an amazing deal for a hotel close to the conference center. So we set out with high hopes. We pull in to the world's nastiest motel. There's people smoking outside, a lot more than just cigarettes. There's bugs all over the ceilings, the walls, the floors, and even in the beds. We learned quickly that we'd put our faith in the wrong person. Now what if I told you in 2 Chronicles chapter 28, there's a king who didn't learn that putting his faith in the wrong people and the wrong things leads to disgusting motels. Let's start reading in verse 1. Ahaz was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. And he did not do what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord, as his ancestor David had done. Instead, he followed the example of the kings of Israel. He cast metal images for the worship of Baal, and he offered sacrifices in the valley of Ben-Hinnom, even sacrificing his own sons in the fire. In this way, he followed the detestable practices of the pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. And he offered sacrifices and burned incense at the pagan shrines and on the hills under every green tree. So Ahaz is already off to a rough start. He becomes king and instantly starts putting his faith in the idols. So much faith that he's willing to sacrifice his own sons with fire, thinking that these almighty pagan gods would be there for him. Let's see how that turned out for him in verse 5. Because of all this, the Lord his God allowed the king of Aram to defeat Ahaz and to exile a large number of his people to Damascus. The armies of the king of Israel also defeated Ahaz and inflicted many casualties on his army. So Ahaz put his faith in pagan gods instead of our God Yahweh. And what did he get? Well, he got slapped the hecketh up. So the pagan gods didn't do much for Ahaz. So let's read to find out where he put his faith next, starting in verse 16. At that time, King Ahaz of Judah asked the king of Assyria for help. The armies of Edom had again invaded Judah and taken captives, and the Philistines had raided towns located in the foothills of Judah. We'll stop right there. So Ahaz decides to put his faith in the Assyrian king. Idols let him down, so he ran to a man. A fun fact you should know about the Assyrian king is that he plans to attack Judah. So who else for King Ahaz to ask for help, right? Let's read verse 19. The Lord was humbling Judah because of King Ahaz of Judah, for he had encouraged his people to sin and had been utterly unfaithful to the Lord. So when King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria arrived, he attacked Ahaz instead of helping him. Well, that's great. He got slapped the hecketh up again. Surely now that men and idol had failed him, he'll put his faith in God Yahweh, right? Let's keep reading. Ahaz took valuable items from the Lord's temple, the royal palace, and from the homes of his officials, and gave them to the king of Assyria as tribute. But this did not help him. Even during this time of trouble, King Ahaz continued to reject the Lord. He offered sacrifices to the gods of Damascus who had defeated him, for he said, since these gods help the kings of Aram, they will help me too, if I sacrifice to them. But instead they led him to his ruin and the ruin of all of Judah. The king took various articles from the temple of God and broke them into pieces. He shut the door of the Lord's temple so that no one else could worship him. And then he set up altars to the pagan gods in every corner of Jerusalem. He made pagan shrines in all the towns of Judah for offering sacrifices to other gods. In this way, he aroused the anger of the Lord, the God of his ancestors. And then he dies. It's sad, right? Time and time again, Ahaz puts his faith in the wrong things. First idols, then humans. And neither worked, so what was the obvious answer to him? To run back to the idols, because that just makes sense. It hurts knowing that if Ahaz had just put his faith in God one time, God would have delivered him. And I'll be honest, it's really easy to point and laugh and call Ahaz dumb for what he did. But if we take a step back, we'll realize we're not too different from Ahaz.
All right.
They may look different, but we put our faith in idols too. It wasn't until a week ago that I realized how much of an idol my phone, video games, and the internet were in my life. Anytime life started to get difficult, I would run to YouTube to distract myself. I would play video games to live a false reality to numb my real-world problems. For some people, it might be something different. Maybe it's not video games, but it's social media. Scrolling to see people live lives you wish you had. Or watching movies to distract yourself. I mean, even reading books to live a story you wish you were a part of. We all have an idol we put our faith in. Heck, we even have a king of Assyria. Maybe there's a girl we run to put faith in, thinking that she'll fulfill us. Or a best friend we know we shouldn't have around, but we keep around because he's super cool, even though he continues to lead us astray. But what if I told you that there is a man we can put our faith in? Someone that will never leave or forsake us. He'll never lead you astray. And that he loves you so much that he lived a perfect life just to be hung on a cross so that you could spend eternity with him. And he's asking you to be a part of his kingdom. And all you have to do is put your faith in him. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Where will you put your faith? In your idols, in people, or in Jesus Christ, the Son of God?
Amen.